Hi, everybody. Joe Cioffi here. Weather in 5 days and 5 minutes. And coming up tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show, we're going to look ahead to the end of the week and into the weekend, where we've got an offshore storm, we've got a cold front, and we've got some colder air behind that cold front. And then, of course, next week being Thanksgiving week, there's a lot of balls in the air as far as how that's going to play out. So we're going to try to put some sense to all of this tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show, and that's at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, on the satellite loop, there are a couple of things here that I want to point out. First off, we've got this lingering trough that continues to just sort of hang around upstate New York and New England, and you see it here producing clouds that are trying to move southeastward down to the coast, and they're starting to make an appearance over parts of the lower Hudson Valley, Connecticut, and Long Island. I don't think this really amounts to too much. You've got some other energy here back in the plains that is moving eastward. That's going to be part of the next cold front for the end of the week. And then we've got what's going on in the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico. And there's actually three systems here. The first is this one that is a low that is off the coast of southeast Louisiana and moving eastward, straddling the coastline of the northern Gulf states. So while there is rain going on along the Gulf Coast, it really isn't pushed too far inland. Which is too bad because of the drought situation, but at least some areas are getting some much needed rain. There is this system down here that you can see about half of it in the southwest Caribbean. That is a system that the National Hurricane Center has been keeping an eye on and mentioning that there is a high probability that something could develop out of that. And then there is this in the northwest Caribbean, which is a smaller disturbance that is coming out. And this is something that some of the models are keying on as it moves off the Florida coast sometime on Thursday. It's from this that we will see some sort of coastal low develop. And the models are having a tough time figuring out whether this is just going to be a weak system or is it going to be like the GFS as it moves up the coast just offshore and become a bit of a powerhouse. And I have to say, quite honestly, I'm not sure how this is all going to play out because all of this energy running around makes for highly volatile model runs and very little in the way of consensus. We're just going to literally have to follow it day by day as it develops. You can see the radar today, unlike yesterday where it was a bit more active up to the north, is just showing some spotty precipitation in upstate New York, nothing down near the coast. So the radars are basically quiet from Maine down into the northern half of Georgia, and then you see the southern half of Georgia and North Florida in some rain and some moderate rain patches there. There's some patches of showers left over parts of Louisiana and into southern Mississippi. And we also have some rain that is coming into northern California and spreading northward up into Oregon. WPC, as far as rainfall is concerned, is indicating a quarter to a half an inch. Central and eastern Long Island and southeastern New England, 3/4 of an inch to maybe an inch. And this has to do with how close that coastal low comes. And of course, we're still seeing these are, by the way, 7-day rainfall amounts, and this looks to be the only thing we really have to worry about from now until next Tuesday evening. And then we have some heavy rains along the Florida Panhandle and just off the coast and touching southeast Louisiana, and anywhere from looks like an inch to some inch and a half amounts up and down the west coast from California all the way up to Washington State. As far as snowfall is concerned, from the Weather Prediction Center from WPC. I'm going to just give this a quick refresh to see if they've updated this because sometimes they do update these things in the middle of the day, and indeed they have. And this is the probability of at least 2 inches over the next 3 days, and it's northern Rockies where there's a small area in northwestern Montana where we have a high probability of at least a couple of inches. Everything else is on the Canada side and nothing going on in the Great Lakes or in the Northeast at this time. So let's run through what we think is going to happen because, again, it is complicated with all these systems that are in play here, especially the stuff that's coming out from the tropical and subtropical regions. No issues, obviously, tonight and tomorrow and Thursday, and probably for the daytime Friday because high pressure is holding on. We're going to see our temperatures move up tomorrow to the middle and upper 50s and low 60s on Thursday, and into the 60s on Friday. Now, as we move through the next couple of days, you can see this Gulf low that is off the coast of southeast Louisiana tomorrow afternoon gradually gives way to a second low on the GFS that forms off the coast of South Florida, and that starts to run northward. At the same time, you've got this cold front that is sweeping eastward across the Great Lakes with a rather deep upper air trough, and this is why the GFS goes crazy with this low, deepens it down to a 984 southeast of North Carolina, and gets it down to a 975 millibar low east of New Jersey and southeast of Montauk. Now, the other models show a weaker lows that are flatter and further east and have more emphasis on the cold front, which really doesn't do very much. The GFS implies that rain will be mainly confined to coastal areas with some heavier rains maybe getting back to central and eastern Long Island and southeast New England, and probably even some wind if this were correct. I'm still not 100% sure whether this is going to be the ultimate outcome here. So we're just going to have to stay tuned and see what we can figure out in the coming day or two. In the meantime, regardless, this cold front eventually pushes through and the low eventually goes by, and we get this deep upper trough and colder air that comes down for Saturday, for later Saturday, and particularly for Sunday, Monday into Tuesday of next week, where we will have dry conditions, but look for it to be quite chilly Sunday into Monday, much like what we just went through in terms of the timeline. Now, the middle of next week, a lot of balls in the air here also with weather systems. You've got another front and strong trough up in the western Great Lakes. You've got another low that's down in the Gulf states. And all of this is going to try and come eastward. And we have models having various ideas on how this is going to play out for possibly next Wednesday. The GFS has rain, and then, of course, once the front goes by, which is sometime Wednesday afternoon, it turns much colder for Wednesday night and has a cold Thanksgiving Day. Even has a bit of a low that forms off the coast of Florida, moves out to the east, but gradually overwhelms with cold air from Thanksgiving Day onward, while the other models are showing all sorts of different types of solutions with this that would mean perhaps less of a cold shot, or that we'd have to wait for maybe next weekend for colder air to come in. When you have a lot of energy running around, models get very volatile and they seem to grasp on different things. So here too, we just have to continue to watch and wait and see how models work on this in the coming days. Joe Rayo and I will be working on this tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show, and that's at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time. So we hope to see you then.